The night sky was silent. Endless stars burned in the distance, and somewhere beyond them, powerful civilizations moved across the universe. They were ancient, advanced, and strong. They had technology beyond imagination, ships that could cross galaxies in a single breath, and weapons that could destroy entire worlds. And yet, there was a whisper among them, a whisper about Earth. They did not speak loudly about it, because even the idea was strange. Why would mighty aliens, who could bend space and time, feel uneasy about a small blue planet, home to fragile humans? Humans were weak. Their bones broke easily. Their lives were short, like sparks in the wind. Their bodies could not fly, could not survive deep space, could not even fight the wild beasts of their own world without tools. By all logic, humans should not matter. But logic is not always truth. The truth was darker. The truth was hidden in history, in something very old, something that began when an ape first looked at fire. Aliens knew the story. They had seen it before, repeated through the ages. A story not of strength, but of defiance. A story of creatures who should have died many times, but did not. And so the question was whispered, why do humans survive? Long ago, when humans were nothing but small tribes walking in fear, they faced enemies stronger than themselves. Nature struck them with storms, hunger, disease. Beasts hunted them. Darkness surrounded them. By all chance, they should have vanished. But they didn't. The narrator's voice grows steady. There was something different about them. Something no other creature had. Something more terrifying than claws or teeth. Something unseen, but unstoppable. That unseen power was imagination. It was imagination that turned sticks into spears. It was imagination that turned caves into homes. It was imagination that stole fire from lightning and made it a weapon. And when the first ape stood near that fire, the universe trembled, though it did not yet know why. Aliens, if they watched from the stars, would not have feared the humans of that time. They were too weak, too simple. But the fear was not in what they were. The fear was in what they could become. The ape was no longer just an ape. With fire in his hands, he was something new, something dangerous. Even today, if you look closely, you can see that same fire in humanity's eyes. It is not just a flame of survival. It is a flame of refusal, a refusal to give up. Every time humans fall, they rise again. Every time they are broken, they rebuild. Every time death comes close, they fight back harder. This is what aliens dread, not the strength of the human body, not the size of their armies, but the spirit that does not break. Imagine this from the eyes of an alien. You have ships of light. You have weapons of destruction. You see a fragile creature standing before you. By logic, it should bow, it should surrender, it should die. But it does not. It looks at you with fire in its eyes. It fights even when defeat is certain. It dreams even when hope is gone. And it finds a way, always, to turn weakness into strength. That is not just survival. That is something else. Something darker. Something that spreads like wildfire. Aliens call it the curse of humanity. The narrator pauses, letting the silence speak. So the question is not why humans are afraid of aliens. The question is, why are aliens afraid of humans? This is the hook. This is the mystery that begins the story. Because in the heart of every human, there's an ancient flame. The flame of the ape who held fire. The flame that refuses to die. The flame that says, no matter how strong you are, I will rise again. And that flame, once seen, can never be forgotten. Long before cities rose, before machines flew in the sky, before names were even spoken, there was only silence. Earth was wild, untamed, and full of shadows. In those shadows lived small tribes of apes who were not the strongest, not the fastest, not the sharpest hunters. They were weak. Their skin tore easily. Their children cried loudly, giving away their hiding places. Their claws were dull. Their teeth were no match for the beasts around them. By the law of nature, they should not have survived. But then, something happened. One night, lightning struck a tree. The forest burned. Animals ran in fear. The sky filled with smoke, and in the middle of the chaos, the apes stood frozen. They had never seen anything like it. The fire was alive, wild, powerful. It destroyed everything it touched. Most creatures ran. But one ape did not. He stepped closer. His eyes reflected the flames. His hands trembled. Fear should have pulled him away. But something stronger held him there, curiosity. And in that moment, history changed. The narrator's voice deepens. That night was not just survival. That night was a birth. The birth of terror, for every beast that hunted in the dark, and one day, for every alien watching from the stars. The ape did not fight with teeth or claws. He fought with fire. At first, it was only protection. The fire kept away wolves. It lit the night, turning darkness into day. But soon, the ape learned more. Fire could cook food, making it stronger. Fire could shape tools, turning stone into weapons. Fire could clear forests, making room for villages. Fire was not just survival anymore. Fire was power, and with power came fear. The animals that once hunted the apes now stayed away. The apes no longer ran from predators. Predators ran from them. The balance of nature had shifted. The weak had become the strong. It was the first time in Earth's history that weakness transformed into dominance. And it happened not through strength of body, but through strength of mind. Aliens, if they had been watching, would have understood. They would have whispered to one another, "The ape has touched fire. The ape will never be the same." This was the true beginning of humanity, not when they walked on two legs, not when they made the first tools. Humanity was born when they captured fire, when they bent nature to their will. And from that moment, fear spread. Not fear in the apes themselves, but fear in everything around them. The forest burned. The animals fled. The earth itself changed. One small creature had turned into something new, something dangerous, something unpredictable. The narrator pauses, then whispers, and once fire was in their hands, the question was no longer if they would survive. The question was how far they would go. Years passed. Generations changed. Tribes grew larger. Villages appeared. But the fire never left their side. It was their companion, their weapon, their symbol. Children were born under its glow. Stories were told around its light. Wars were fought with its heat. Fire was no longer just a tool. It was a mirror of humanity itself, beautiful, creative, destructive. And aliens, who ruled the stars, feared this more than anything. For they knew one truth. A creature that controls fire will never stop. Imagine the terror in an alien's eyes. They see a fragile ape, holding nothing but a flame. And yet in that flame, they see rockets, weapons, empires. They see a future where this weak creature reaches the stars. And they ask themselves, what happens when the ape learns to use fire not just on Earth, but in the universe? The answer is simple. The ape becomes unstoppable. The story ends with the narrator's chilling words. From the moment fire touched human hands, the universe had a new enemy. Not an enemy of strength, but of spirit. The ape with fire had been born, and the galaxy would never sleep peacefully again. The ape had fire. The world had changed. But that was only the beginning. From that first spark, a pattern began, a pattern that would shape humanity forever, a pattern of defiance. At first, the enemies were beasts, claws sharper, bodies stronger, jaws that could crush bone. By all logic, the ape should have lost. Yet every time, the story ended the same way. The beasts fled. The ape remained. Why? Because the ape refused to accept defeat. If claws tore their skin, they sharpened stones into blades. If teeth crushed their bones, they built spears to strike from a distance. If storms drowned their homes, they built shelters stronger than the winds. Every wound became a lesson. Every loss became a weapon. This was a pattern. Humanity did not just survive. Humanity answered. Generations passed. The ape was no longer just an animal with fire. It was something new, something stubborn, something relentless. When hunger came, they hunted farther. When rivers blocked their way, they built rafts. When mountains rose before them, they climbed higher. Nature tried again and again to stop them. But nature always failed. The narrator's voice grows heavier. This is what aliens saw from the stars. A creature too fragile to live, yet too defiant to die. And so the pattern continued. When tribes fought one another, they should have vanished in endless wars. But even in blood, they found a way to rebuild. When plague swept through villages, They should have been erased. But they endured, stronger each time. When deserts, oceans, and ice tried to cage them, they broke free, spreading across the earth like wildfire. No matter what stood in front of them, one truth repeated again and again: the ape refuses to bow. Now imagine the eyes of an alien civilization watching this. From afar, they see weakness, but up close, they see something terrifying, a will that never breaks. An alien commander whispers to his people, "These creatures do not stop. They do not accept chains. Even in death, they fight." It is not strength that frightens him. It is persistence. Persistence is a disease. Persistence spreads. Think of it this way. If you strike down a beast, it dies. If you strike down a human, another rises. If you crush a tribe, the survivors remember. They rebuild, stronger than before. This is the curse of humanity. This is a pattern of defiance. There is a story told by the fire. A storm once came, stronger than any before. It tore down homes, killed crops, drowned families. For many nights, the tribe sat in despair. But one morning, they rose, they sharpened their tools, they planted seeds again. And within years, the same ground that tried to kill them fed them instead. That is a human way. To take the weapon of death and turn it into life. The narrator whispers, what other creature does this? What other creature bends pain into strength, fear into courage, loss into victory? None. Only the ape with fire. And so, as time passed, the world learned to fear them. Predators stopped hunting near the villages. The earth itself bent to their will. And still, they pushed forward. The aliens knew what this meant. They knew what kind of enemy was growing on Earth. Not the strongest, not the fastest, but the most dangerous of all, the one who never stops. Because this is the law of humanity. If you push them down, they will rise. If you break them, they will mend. If you chain them, they will find freedom. Every obstacle becomes fuel. Every defeat becomes fire. And if such a creature ever reaches the stars, what then? The narrator's voice lowers, almost a whisper. This is why aliens dread humanity. Not because of their strength, but because of their defiance. Because no matter the cost, no matter the pain, the ape with fire will always stand again. The ape had fire. The ape had defiance. But there was still something greater, something invisible, something no other creature truly held. It was not muscle. It was not speed. It was not claws or fangs. It was imagination. Other animals hunted with instinct. They killed, they ate, they slept. Their lives followed the same circle. But the ape with fire broke the circle. He dreamed. He looked at a stick and saw a spear. He looked at stone and saw a blade. He looked at the stars and wondered what lay beyond. This was imagination. And imagination was the deadliest weapon of all. At first, the dreams were small. A broken branch became a hammer. A sharp rock became a knife. A skin of an animal became clothing. But step by step, imagination grew stronger. Tools became traps. Traps became villages. Villages became kingdoms. And soon, the ape with fire was no longer prey. He was the master of Earth. The narrator's voice sharpens. This is what aliens feared most. Not the fire, not the defiance, but the mind that could turn weakness into invention. Because imagination does not sleep. When hunger came, imagination created farming. When distance came, imagination created wheels. When rivers blocked the way, imagination created boats. When enemies attacked, imagination created weapons sharper than any claw. Every problem became an idea. Every limit became a challenge. Imagine the view from the stars. An alien watches the Earth. They see fragile creatures with no natural weapons. And yet, slowly, those creatures rise. They build shelters. They build tools. They build walls. They build dreams. And the alien whispers, this is not an animal anymore. This is something else. This is a creator. Imagination was fire's shadow. Fire gave them warmth. But imagination gave them vision. Vision to see what does not exist. Vision to take the unseen and make it real. And that is why humans are dangerous. Because imagination has no limit. It keeps moving, keeps growing, keeps breaking the chains around it. The story continues. The ape imagined arrows that could fly farther than his arm. He imagined ships that could cross endless seas. He imagined castles that could stand against armies. And each time he imagined, he built, other creatures stayed the same. Wolves remained wolves. Lions remained lions. But the ape with fire, he was never the same. He was always changing, always creating, always becoming something new. This is a weapon that aliens dread. A weapon that does not rust. A weapon that cannot be taken away. A weapon that grows stronger with every generation. The narrator slows, adding weight to each word. One human can imagine. But when many humans imagine together, worlds are born. That is the true terror. Not just the individual dream, but the shared dream. The dream of tribes becoming nations. The dream of nations building empires. The dream of empires reaching for the stars. Imagine an alien general watching the rise of humanity. He sees not just bodies, but minds at work. Minds that invent. Minds that refuse to stop. Minds that take broken stones and turn them into weapons of war. He knows the truth. Armies can be defeated. Weapons can be destroyed. But imagination cannot be killed. And so, the ape with fire rose higher and higher. Each invention became a stepping stone. Each dream became reality. The bow led to the sword. The sword led to the cannon. The cannon led to the gun. And one day, the gun led to the rocket. From fire in the forest to fire in the sky. This is a path imagination created. This is a shadow that stretches across time. The narrator whispers, aliens fear humanity because imagination does not end. Even if every human fell, another would rise with the same fire in the mind. And that fire will always burn until it touches the stars. The ape had fire. The ape had imagination. The ape had defiance. But there was still one more power, a power greater than any weapon in his hand, greater than any tool he could build. That power was unity. At first, humans lived in small tribes, each one alone, each one struggling against hunger, storms, and predators. They fought each other for land, for food, for survival. But slowly, something changed. One tribe discovered fire. Another tribe discovered tools. Another tribe built shelters. And when they met, they had a choice, fight or join. And sometimes they chose to join. The narrator's voice deepens. This was the moment the world trembled. For when one human stands alone, he can fall. But when many humans stand together, they cannot be broken. Together, they hunted larger beasts. Together, they built stronger walls. Together, they carried dreams bigger than any single life. Unity gave them strength beyond numbers. A lone human was fragile, but 100 humans with one goal were unstoppable. Imagine wolves attacking a man alone. The man would fall. But a village of humans with spears and fire, the wolves would never return. This was the power of unity, the power to turn fear into victory. But unity was not only about survival. It was about vision. One human imagined a tool. Another human improved it. Another human used it to build something greater. Together, they created what no one alone could have dreamed. This was the birth of culture, the birth of knowledge, the birth of memory that passed from one generation to the next. And once humans learned to share their dreams, their power doubled, tripled, multiplied without end. Aliens, watching from the stars, understood the danger. One human with imagination is a threat, but 1,000,000 humans with imagination, that is destiny. The story grows darker. When war came, unity became even more terrifying. A single soldier could be defeated, but an army of thousands, marching under one flag, could crush empires. A single builder could raise a hut, but 1,000 could raise cities, monuments, wonders that touched the sky. Unity turned weakness into power. Unity turned imagination into reality. The narrator lowers his voice, creating suspense. Aliens fear this most of all. Not the weapons, not the fire, but the moment humanity decides to stand together against a greater enemy. History itself tells a story. When outsiders threatened villages, humans united and fought back. When disasters destroyed cities, survivors rebuilt side by side. When nations faced enemies stronger than themselves, they formed alliances, refusing to kneel. Every time humanity came together, it became unstoppable. And so the aliens wondered, What if one day the entire earth stood as one? What if all tribes, all nations, all people united under a single dream? The thought itself was terrifying, because unity would mean no limit. Unity would mean one human spirit stretching across an entire planet. And if that spirit looked toward the stars, nothing in the universe could stop it. The narrator whispers slowly, "This is why aliens fear humanity, because they know the truth. Alone, a human can be defeated. Together, humans become eternal." Think of it. One mind invents fire. One tribe uses it to survive. One village shares it with another. And together, they build a world. This is the chain. This is the pattern. This is unity. Aliens may have stronger weapons. They may have faster ships. They may have longer lives. But they do not have this. They do not have the bond that humans share when danger comes. They do not have the courage to bleed for one another. They do not have the power to turn strangers into brothers, and brothers into nations. This is a human weapon that cannot be copied. This is the gift of the ape with fire. And so, every time the universe whispers of invasion, every time an alien dares to think of conquering Earth, they remember this one truth. If humans unite, they cannot be crushed. The narrator ends with quiet weight. And that is why the galaxy dreads the day humanity stops fighting itself and starts fighting together. For that day will not be survival. That day will be conquest. The ape had fire. The ape had imagination. The ape had unity. And with these three, something new was born. Technology. It began simple. Stones sharpened into blades. Spears hardened in fire. Wheels carved from wood. Small steps, almost nothing. But small steps became paths. Paths became roads. Roads became bridges to the future. Every invention was a seed. Every seed grew into a tree. And soon, the forest of technology rose around humanity. The narrator's voice sharpens. This was a fire reborn. No longer just a flame in the dark. Now it burned in machines, in engines, in rockets, in weapons that shook the earth itself. Centuries passed. Empires rose and fell. But technology never stopped. The bow became the cannon. The cannon became the rifle. The rifle became the bomb. And one day, the bomb became the weapon of the sun itself, the nuclear fire. With it, humans could destroy cities in seconds. With it, humans held the power of stars in their hands. The ape with fire had returned. Only now, the fire was not in the forest. It was in the sky, in the oceans, in the very air. But technology was not only death. It was life. It healed wounds, cured diseases, carried voices across oceans, lifted people into the skies. One day, it carried them even higher into space. Imagine the aliens' fear. For ages, they watched from afar. They saw the ape grow from caves to kingdoms, from kingdoms to empires. And now, they saw something even worse. The ape was reaching for the stars. What once seemed impossible was now real. Fragile humans, who could not even survive a storm without fire, were now building rockets to leave their planet. The galaxy trembled. Technology had reborn the ancient fire, but brighter, stronger, unstoppable. Fire once kept wolves away. Now, it could burn entire worlds. Fire once lit small caves. Now, it lit entire cities. Fire once cooked food. Now, it carried humanity beyond the clouds. The narrator whispers, this is what aliens dread. Not just the weapons of humanity, but the speed of their climb, the hunger of their invention, the way they leap from weakness to strength, faster and faster, as if nothing can stop them. Think of it. It took thousands of years to master fire. It took hundreds of years to master steel. It took only a decade to master flight. And within 1 century, they reached space. The pace itself was terrifying. Technology became more than tools. It became the second skin of humanity. Glasses became satellites. Horses became cars. Letters became digital worlds. Dreams became machines. Everywhere the ape looked, technology grew like vines, wrapping around the earth, pulling it toward the future. Aliens understood the pattern. They had seen it before in their own pasts. But humanity was different. Humanity's climb was too fast, too reckless, too desperate. And that desperation made them dangerous. The story grows darker. With technology, humans could destroy themselves. Wars grew larger. Weapons grew deadlier. Cities fell. Millions died. But even then, even at the edge of extinction, they did not stop. They rebuilt. They advanced. They kept creating. No other species in the galaxy was so willing to walk so close to the edge of death, just to move one step further. That is what makes them terrifying. The narrator's tone grows heavy. Technology is fire reborn. It burns brighter than before, and it cannot be put out. For even if one nation falls, another will rise with new machines, new weapons, new dreams. And now, the ape with fire stands at the edge of the stars. Satellites circle the skies. Rovers crawl across alien worlds. Signals travel beyond the solar system, carrying humanity's voice into the void. To aliens, these are not just signals. They are warnings. Warnings that the ape is coming. The narrator ends with a chilling whisper. The ape who once sat by a fire now holds the fire's suns. The ape who once feared the night now sends his light into the darkness of space. The ape has been reborn, and the galaxy is no longer safe. The ape had fire. The ape had imagination. The ape had unity. The ape had technology. But there was still something greater, something no weapon, no machine, no invention could ever explain. It was a human spirit. Aliens understood strength. They understood weapons. They understood power. But there was one thing they could never understand: why humans refused to surrender. From the beginning, life crushed them. Storms drowned their homes. Beasts hunted them. Diseases tore through their tribes. Wars burned their cities. Even their own inventions turned against them. By all reason, humanity should have died long ago. But they didn't. They rose again. Every time. Every fall became a climb. Every wound became a scar. Every scar became a story. The human spirit does not break. The narrator's voice deepens. This is what aliens truly fear. Not the fire in their hands. Not the machines they build. But the fire in their hearts. Imagine a battlefield. The alien soldier is stronger. His weapon is sharper. His armor is unbreakable. The human lies wounded, bleeding, broken. By logic, the fight is over. But the human does not stay down. He rises, one last time. He fights, even when defeat is certain. He fights, not because he will win, but because he refuses to bow. That moment, the moment a fragile human stands against impossible odds, is a moment that terrifies the universe. Because no other creature does this. Strength can be measured. Weapons can be counted. Armies can be destroyed. But spirit? Spirit cannot be weighed, cannot be crushed, cannot be erased. And the human spirit is endless. Aliens whisper of this curse. They call it the endless flame. A fire that burns even when the body dies. A fire that passes from one generation to the next. When one human falls, another rises. When one dream dies, another is born. When one empire collapses, another is built from the ashes. It never ends. The narrator grows softer, almost reverent. Perhaps this is why humanity is so dangerous. Because death itself cannot stop them. Because they are not only flesh and blood. They are memory. They are hope. They are the spirit that refuses to break. Think of it. Even when they lose everything, homes, families, nations, they rise again. Even when darkness covers their world, they light a new fire. Even when they face enemies far stronger, they dream of victory. And dreams, once born, do not die. This is why aliens dread humanity. Not because they are the strongest, not because they are the smartest, but because they are the most relentless. No matter how far they fall, they rise. No matter how deep the darkness, they find light. No matter how strong the chains, they break free. The ape with fire has become more than flesh. He is defiance. He is imagination. He is unity. He is technology. But above all, he is spirit. And spirit cannot be conquered. The narrator whispers the final words. So if the galaxy ever asks why aliens fear humanity, the answer is simple. It is not the weapons. It is not the machines. It is not the fire. It is the unbreakable spirit of the ape with fire. The spirit that says, no matter the odds, no matter the cost, I will rise again. And in that silence, the truth is clear. Humanity is not feared for what it has. Humanity is feared for what it is: the ape with fire, the dreamer with spirit, the creature that never bows. The galaxy dreads a day the spirit reaches the stars. For that day, the universe will never be the same.